The child support grant of 480 Rand is 26% below the food poverty line of 624 Rand. It's also 40% below the average cost to feed a child a basic nutritious diet. For that, you need 803 Rand. Now, this is according to the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group. Its latest household affordability index tracks food price data from 44 supermarkets and 30 butcheries across the country. The cost of food baskets increasing in all areas in the month of May, except for the small town of Springbok. To crunch some of the numbers and their meaning coming out of the latest research by the group, we're joined now by its program coordinator, Mervyn Abrahams. Mervyn, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. I guess one would say not much surprise here in terms of the price increase in the average cost of the household food basket, even year on year, judging by what the world has been going through recently.
Exactly. Good afternoon, Dan, and good afternoon to all your viewers. Yes, we are in a food price inflationary cycle throughout the globe. There are numerous global geopolitical factors that are contributing to that. But of course, there are also a few local factors that are contributing to high food price inflation, but it is a global phenomenon. Yes.
And let's just focus locally. What is driving these significant increases?
So locally, what is driving it is that our imports and the value of the rand, of course, being not as strong as one would wish it. So our imports are quite costly, and we import a lot of agricultural inputs, fertilizers, of course, fuel, as you've just mentioned. We import a lot of wheat and sunflower, as well as palm oil from Indonesia. And so all of these factors are coming together now to raise the level of food price inflation for us locally.
Yeah, there's a paragraph that just caught my eye about significant increases of 5% and above. Cooking oil rising by an average of 14% on a 5-litre bottle year on year. But then you've got other foodstuffs like potatoes, onion, chicken livers, inyama phakathi, that's malamukhodi, that's beef offal, carrots and spinach. I mean, those are basic. Maize meal, cake flour, frozen chicken portions, stock cubes, wors, tomatoes, cabbage, white bread. I mean, what is it not on this list?
Exactly. And these lists, the 44 foods that we track, are the kinds of food that low-income households try and purchase every month. There is no luxury in any of them, and 28 out of the 44 foods we tracked increased over the last month. If I could just give you some of the figures, it is shocking. So cake flour, for instance, year on year has increased by 13%. A 5-litre cooking oil has increased year on year by 52%. Chicken has increased by 16%, margarine by 15%, bread has increased by 10%, bologna has increased by 36%, maize meal is on the increase again and is now increased by 4% year on year. So we are seeing the impact of all of these global factors, as well as food production having become more expensive in South Africa because of our imports.
Yeah, and of course that war in Ukraine with Russia is not ending. It's escalating. It's got an impact on us, but also we have our own challenges here locally. But just a quick comment. I mean, the government deciding in the last hour to extend the general fuel levy relief of R1.50 for another month of June, and that will go down to 75 cents in July and August. But still, the fuel price is going high. It's a steep increase of R2.43 a litre for 93 unleaded petrol and R2.33 a litre for 95. So that's still very high.
It is extremely high. And while we will welcome any help that government gives to keep price, at least the increase lower than what it was expected, a R4 increase that was expected, we also have to remember, Dan, that fuel price impact households in different ways. So there's transport that increases, for instance. The Reserve Bank has increased interest rates, which means debt servicing has become more. Eskom is increasing its electricity tariff, which means more payments there. So there are less and less money left over in the pockets of South African households when they go out to the shopping center to buy their food. And then they get to the store, and then the food prices have increased by something like about 10% year on year. So it really shows that the South African consumer is in a financial stress at the moment.
You make a very good point here towards the end of your statement regarding the latest data from the May 2022 Household Affordability Index around the child support grant of 480 being 23% below the food poverty line of 624. I mean, would you be encouraging government to up that child support grant to that level?
We have called consistently that the child support grant should be set at least at the level of the poverty line. And that is important for all of us, for the South African public, that we actually feed all our children. Because if we don't, if we this situation continues, already we have about 25% of our children under the age of 5 are stunted. Through no fault of their own, they will not be able to participate in a new economy, in a digital economy. And so if we want to get proper economic productivity and economic growth going in the future and eradicate intergenerational poverty, we have to ensure that our children eat proper and nutritious food. And that means setting the child support grant at the level of the food poverty line.
And finally, Mervyn, before I let you go, if you're looking ahead, the forecast, what does it look like?
The forecast is that food prices will remain high and potentially could go even higher. And Dan, the reason for that is that fertilizers have now become about 30% more expensive over the last 3 months. A lot of farmers are beginning to question whether they can actually afford to plant for the next season. So we are expecting that with all those factors that food prices will remain high, at least for the next 12 to 18 months.
Thank you very much. Mervyn Abrahams from the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group.